meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. I want to take a few minutes to go over our general operating procedures. The applicant on the agenda is called. The applicant gives his or her name and address for the record, then make his or her presentation. Board members ask questions, if any. Members of the public will make your comments then. Only 4 people can speak on an application for or against an application. For or against an application. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to questions by the board. And after 4 minutes, a loud beep will indicate 1 minute left to speak. And at this point, please summarize your comments. After all opposition speakers have finished, the applicant will be given time to respond. If you do intend to speak, we ask that you will come to the podium and give your name and address for our minutes. Please direct all comments to the board only and not to the applicant or the audience. Please direct any and all questions of the applicant or the staff directly to the board, and please speak directly into the microphone. After we finish with the hearing the application, the board will go into deliberations. In deliberation, board members will discuss the application with input from staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. The chair would then call for a motion and vote. The Board of Zoning Adjustments is a 7-member board. We only have 6 members here today. Our chairman is not out. So please note that approval of a variance would require a minimum, I believe, Mr. Counsel, of 4 affirmative votes. All decisions of the board are final. If there are anyone who agree by this decision of the board, they may appeal to the circuit court within 15 days of the board decision. Also, no permits or licenses can be issued until the 15-day appeal period has expired and no appeal has been filed. For more information regarding the board's decision or an appeal to the circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration should be contacted at 208-5895. I will proceed to call the roll. Mr. Vernon Coleman, Mr. Adam Metcalf, here. Mr. John Burrows, yep. Mr. Jerry Milling, here. Mr. Lewis Golden, here. I'm the vice chair, Sanford Davis, and our chairman, Mr. William Guest, is not here today, and our attorney is Mr. Doug Anderson. That being said, we will move now to hear our agenda items today. The first item on the agenda is case number 6243-5603, Church Street Apartments, LLC, 1400 Church Street. Yes, please come. Give your name and address for the
Joey Veglasich, 73396 Adamore Court. So I don't have much of a presentation. This has previously been granted. I just more time to get the permits for the project.
Yes, sir. You're asking, and the staff recommends for approval of a 6-month extension to allow for the issuance of permits for development. Are you comfortable with that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Anyone in favor of this application would like to speak? Anyone against? Just for the record, I have to ask that, sir. Anyone? Okay. Any board members, any comments or statement at this point? Board members. Hearing none, then we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 6-month extension.
Second.
Motion and seconded that we will grant this 6-month extension. You've heard the motion as stated. Are we ready for the question? All in favor, let it be known, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers by the same. Granted, sir. Thank you. Next application is number 6289, Mobile Real Estate Investment LLC, 7970 Airport Boulevard. Please come.
Good afternoon. William Lapp, 3901 Spring Hill Avenue, Clark Hill Latham and Associates, representing the applicant. We're generally in agreement with the staff recommendations, with the exceptions of engineering comments 1 and 2. That would be under condition 10.5. The premise of this variance is to allow the temporary storage of the dealership's inventory on these lots, and that they plan to make no improvements to the site. And since no improvements are being made, we don't believe a land disturbance permit would be necessary. We also don't believe that there is any handicap requirements or any need to pave handicap spaces out.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Margaret, what are your comments about that?
That is all
Oh,
under the
just-
purview of city engineering.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Comments?
Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, looking back this, I think I was in error. I didn't realize that this was to allow unimproved surfacing. I was going through assuming that there was gravel surfacing, right? So if they're not going to be making any improvements to site, then yes, a land disturbance would not be, a land disturbance permit would not be required. And if they're not required to put any handicap spaces, then they would not have to do that either.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone in favor of this application would like to speak? Anyone in opposition would like to speak at this time? Hearing none, the recommendation calls from staff for approval of the surface variance request that you are in agreement with, and the approval is subject to the following conditions, which we have lifted 1 and 2, which are not applicable to what you are doing.
Well,
what's-
it's
I'm
1
sorry.
and 2 of condition 5.
One or two of condition 5, yes, sir. Thank you. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion we approve, subject to removing the engineering requirement in section 5.
You have a second?
Motion and second, you've heard it as stated, we ready for the question? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed by the same, hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, sir. Application number 6290, David H. Crowder, 600 Church Street. Anyone here representing case number 6290, David H. Crowder, 600 Church Street?
No, I'm a neighbor.
You're your neighbor?
This was sent to me.
Okay, all right, we'll get to you in just a moment.
Right.
Okay, you would like to make a statement, right, ma'am? You would like to make a statement, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, okay. If you would,
So-
please,
Yes.
if you would, please give us just a moment. Let's see if the applicant is here or someone representing the applicant. No one answers, counsel, how we proceed with this? Yes, ma'am, ma'am.
Or vote, whatever's your, whatever you want to do.
Okay, I think in all fairness, then we should hear this young
That's all.
lady.
Yeah,
We
we'll
should
let
hear
her
this young
speak,
lady
yes.
to see what her position is, And if you would, please come, ma'am.
Yes, there,
Come to the mic, please, and give us your name. and-
pardon?
Come to the mic and give us your name and address, please, ma'am. Please take your time.
Here, hold on.
Please take your time.
Thank you.
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Hank Vinyashvili,
Yes, ma'am.
and I live at 104 South Warren Street. And so this would have impacted us more than anybody sort of within a 300-foot range. So he wants to have be allowed to exceed the 12-foot setback. And I wish them all the very best. I know them, but I really don't want to have anything closer to our property than what the law requires.
Yes,
We just like as, you know, as much privacy as possible, and 4 feet is a sufficient distance, and that's the regulation. And I'd just like to go by the regulations.
Yes, ma'am. You're in opposition.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good, good. Bless you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Miss Martha.
if the staff could explain so that she has a clearer understanding.
Miss, ma'am, we have some clarity that we'd like to give you on this application. Miss Martha is gonna share it with you.
The reason for the variance is because this is within the downtown development district. And the
I
downtown.
don't think she can hear you. You can?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The downtown development district actually establishes setbacks that cannot be exceeded. In this particular case, along the frontage of the property here on Church Street, the requirements are that the building cannot be any further back from Church Street than 12 feet. Due to the angle of the frontage, this corner here is going to be set back 13 feet from Church Street, thus the need for that particular variance. It will not be building around the perimeter of the property is not encroaching any closer than what the ordinance requires.
So this is regarding Church Street. So it's not the sort of, if there were a fence, it would be a communal fence. So it has nothing to do with the property next door, which is where I live.
Okay, back here, you live on Warren Street?
That's right.
That's correct. It is not encroaching in any closer back here than what the,
Regulations.
yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Thank you for enlightening me.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that being cleared up, I feel that the opposition has been removed. Anyone in favor of this application would like to speak? It's in our hands, board. How do we want to handle this at this point? Ms. Martha, well, you wanted to say something, Ms. Martha? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Moved, properly seconded, heard it is stated, we're ready to vote. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposes by the same, hearing none, so ordered. All right, we look like we're moving pretty good here today. Okay, keep them rolling, okay. Mr. Byrd, you coming down for number 6291, 1400 Navajo Road.
That's correct.
We're in your hands. This has been recommended for denial.
I know. All right. Oh, she's handing out some pictures. You know where the site is, southwest corner of Navco and McVeigh. The top two pictures are the shopping center that's across the street from the site. And then let's see, the picture lower left is the northeast corner, and this is the east corner, both service station, convenience store. as stated in the staff report, yes, this property, and I'll agree that the building itself looks like was a service station at one point in time. But it has been a bar it was a bar for quite a long time. It has been closed for quite some time. This is Emily Wynn, her husband. Danny purchased the property in 2015. They have tried to lease the property and only have had 2, possibly 3 people or businesses interested, one being a church, and the other going back to a bar, both of which felt like that the renovation cost would be too excessive. Now, the real problem we have with it is that this property is in a floodplain thanks to Fulton's Branch, it's one border of this property. The renovation of the building to bring it up to a decent code would, for any other type business, we'll say, the cost exceeds 50%, which means has to be brought into compliance, which in this case means tear the building down and build a new building. They are trying to utilize it as a car sales property that would utilize the outside property, small portion of the office area, or a small portion of the building would be used as office area, and it wouldn't exceed that 50%. But they're just trying to recoup some of the money that they have into it after 4 years. That's a pretty good sign that without major renovation, they won't have anything done with it. The good part about the auto sales, it can be in a floodplain. They can move the cars if a great comes and move it to higher ground. But I know, for whatever reason, don't like auto sales, but it's a quiet business. Cars just sit there. They're advertised. As long as there's room for a buyer to be able to get in off the street and look at them, take them, drive them on the city street. But it doesn't create a problem for the neighbors. You see what kind of neighborhood we've got, and the one picture that I took of the bar that's on Navco Road, you see it in the aerial south of the ditch. It didn't turn out so good, so I didn't try to do it. So we have a bar, 2 service stations, and a shopping center at this intersection, and has been for a long time. And the parking spaces that I put on there, yes, I utilized some of the asphalt that was in the right-of-way, but as you know, car sales, they can get parked any which way. It isn't like a customer coming that needs a specific space to be able to back in and out. So that's, and there again, depends on how many cars they have. They have, I don't know, I think I've assigned 26. If they have 10 cars out there, they can park them most anywhere. And that's in excess of the required spaces because of the size of the building. So your consideration on that would be appreciated for allowing this to go there.
Anyone in favor of this application? Yes.
And that one.
Okay. Okay, would you like to have something to say, sir? No. Ma'am, would you want to say something?
Yes,
Yep.
if I could.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Emily Nguyen. I live at 6363 Oakley Way, Mobile, Alabama 36609. Your consideration for approval for this place of ours would be very appreciated. We're still paying on the property. I pay every single month. Like Mr. Bird was saying, we've been trying to rent the place out for years. It's about to be 2020, so it's almost 5 years in the making. We've had a few people look at the space, and no one is willing to rent it out. We've been losing money on the place for a while. We pay every month still. Also, we also pay over $2,000 in tax every single year. So we're just trying to recoup some of that income. And even though B2 has a lot of stuff that people can rent it out for, no one has been willing to really rent it out. And we're just trying to make the money that we need to make back from it. So your consideration for approval for it would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in opposition? Okay, thank you all very, very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Jerry?
Yeah.
What is the elevation on that site? Or what's the difference?
8 or 9,
8 or 9?
yes, that's the base flood.
Base
elevation.
flood.
Maybe Margaret knows, she's reaching.
Yeah, I was trying to find the topo for the building. BFE for the site today is 10. It is going up to 11 based on the new firm maps.
Okay, so if you're at 2 feet now, I mean, if you're at 8 feet, you say?
Yeah.
So you'd be looking at to redevelop at least 2 to 3 feet to bring finished floor up?
No, add another foot.
Base, well,
No, we
oh,
don't.
she said 11.
Oh, I
FF.
thought you said, I'm sorry, I thought you said BFA.
Yes, you're correct. BFE, base flood, is going up with the new flood maps.
what?
To 11.
So finished floor is 12.
No, because the city repealed freeboard.
Really?
But you're still looking,
And it's pretty much the
Well-
whole, would it be the whole site, basically? Okay.
yes.
So it's rendered it
Yeah.
pretty useless. Yeah. And how big's the site?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Let's see. .39.
Yeah.
So it's 17,000 square feet. Not much you can do with it anyway. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like Mr. Metcalf have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you all very much.
Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board here, any discussion at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Move properly seconded, you've heard it? Yeah, move properly seconded, you've heard it as stated, are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposes, hearing none, so ordered. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Okay, our next application is, number 6292, Les Robinson LLC, 412 South Broad Street. Please come. This application is before us with attachment of recommendation from staff for approval. Anything you'd like to say?
James Hughes, 209 South Cedar Street. No, if they've approved, recommended, so unless you have any questions in regards to the boundary lines, I think is all that we're talking, the setback lines.
That's the storage building that we.
What are we saying? What are we
This
saying?
is for, I'll explain it here. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Margaret, could you explain kind of what happened with the plat and exactly what's going on?
Yes. This is a fairly unique site based on its history. There was a subdivision plat that had a note on it allowing a reduced setback. However, when the note was placed on the plat by the Planning Commission, the note specifically stated reduced setbacks allowed only with approval of required corresponding variance. So that is, and it had a 10-foot setback along Broad Street. That is how the site is designed now, based on that note on the subdivision plat. This application was before the board previously for site coverage and sign variances. However, the site has been modified to comply with site coverage, and the sign variances at this point, the applicant is not proposing signage that would require a sign variance. So right now, he is here before the board strictly for the setback, reduced setback along Broad Street. The board has previously approved reduced setback variances here across Elmira and here across Broad Street.
And this is the same building that was proposed as a 9-story storage?
No, sir. It is a multi-story building. However, the reason the variances were requested previously were for site coverage. It has now been reduced in size so that it complies with site coverage and sign variances. And at this point, a sign is not proposed that would require a variance.
I think when this came up, there was a concern about notifying the neighborhood about this proposal, right?
Notice
Same building?
it's
Yes.
the same building, but it has been modified to comply with the exception of the setback along Broad Street. Because of the use also requires planning approval. That went before the Planning Commission back in October. We had one person that showed up to ask questions. Once they received their information regarding the proposed use, they voiced no opposition.
Yeah. The plan, when I remember my recollection of that, we told him to go and notify the neighborhood of what was going on. They decided to go to the Downtown Bay Club, has no relationship with the neighborhood. The Downtown Bay Club is a club that meets away from this neighborhood. And you say that only people showed up from the Downtown Bay Club. That had nothing to do with the neighborhood. And the reason I voted against it because it didn't contact people on the other side of Broad Street, or east of Broad Street. And I voted against it, and it was denied. Now he's coming back and saying that because only 1 or 2 people showed up and they approved. Is that
No.
what thing you said?
No.
This is a change in request. What he was here before last time, he has changed the site plan to where he's not having to ask for those variances. The only variance he's asking for today is a setback from Broad Street. Margaret was just making the point about the 2 people at the Planning Commission that there was no neighborhood objection to this use. 2 people showed up, they asked questions, their questions were answered, and they did not object to this use.
How were the people notified?
The same as with the variances, they are notified by regular mail.
On what side of Broad Street?
300 feet from the outside, from the perimeter property line. So you would take a radius from this yellow line here and go 300 feet. All the people within 300 feet would be sent notice.
On both sides of Broad Street?
Yes, sir. Broad Street may be a 100-foot right-of-way, so you would go 200 feet approximately beyond that. And that would be the same for variances as well as the planning approval that went before the commission.
Is that for residences or for businesses?
It's for property owners.
Property owners?
Yes, sir.
Every property owner within 300 feet from every boundary.
And with the planning approval, a sign is posted on the property as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I could, and I want to speak for you, but my recollection was, the first time we held it over for you to contact down the bay.
Yes, sir.
Which you did.
I did.
And you had a meeting there.
I did.
Okay. And you submitted, and there were how many people?
There were only 3 people that showed up to that meeting.
But you did meet with them.
I did.
Okay, and did they voice any?
No concerns.
But that was actually for the previous request, which was site coverage. This is, you have now complied with the zoning ordinance on that.
Yes, sir.
This is his setback, which was really one of the reasons that the staff recommended approval on this, because there was kind of a mix-up when the plat was recorded.
That's correct.
So, but basically, what you're asking for had already been sort of approved, it just wasn't recorded properly.
That's correct.
Is that basically right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure we had the timelines right.
Yes, sir.
Any other
Chairman.
discussion? Questions?
Can I make
Yes,
a
sir.
comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Burrows.
If you recall, at the meeting, we had determined that it was in the jurisdiction of the Down the Bay Community Organization, which is my organization, and on behalf of the applicant, he done everything we asked him to do. He contacted, and I contacted the president of the community organization, and even knocked on a couple of doors. She did, and I did it too. And we found no objections to it. So if you recall, at that time, I abstained from the vote without prejudice toward the applicant, because I'm not. Matter of fact, after looking at the drawings, it's quite appealing, but I'll leave it at that.
All right, Mr. Burrows. Anyone else would like to make any comments at this time as it relates before we move towards a vote? Yes, sir.
My reason for what I did, that's my neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood, and I have relatives that are still living in that neighborhood that haven't heard from you. And they're concerned about what's going on in their neighborhood, as I am. When you told me, and when I asked you if you contacted people on the east side of Broad Street, you told me you didn't think you needed to.
I told you I did not
You told me you
know,
didn't need to.
because
That's what
the
your
property
comments
did not-
were.
Well, the property does not sit in that neighborhood.
But you are going to put something in the neighborhood that these people are going to be using. Or you're asking them to because you've written it out. To my way of thinking, if I were you, I would have made sure that I contacted everybody I could to support something is involved that this is with the amount of money that you're about to spend. So that's why I asked you that. It has a direct impact on me because my family still lives in that neighborhood.
All right, that being said, anyone else? If not, we will entertain a motion on this issue.
Move for
Sir,
appro-
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sir. You have something you want to say up there? Yes, I do. You in opposition or in favor?
Oh.
You in opposition? Yes, sir. Okay, well, just one moment. Anyone in favor of this application would like to say anything? Anyone in opposition, please come, sir.
Afternoon.
How you doing, sir? Name and address. Name and address.
My name is Roland Denson.
Yes, sir.
I live at 1056 Selma Street.
Yes, sir.
And I own the property right at the west, northwest corner of Broad Street.
Let's see what it is on this.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
What a red
right
light
on
is?
that corner.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Denson, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm planning on erecting a residential house there, you know. I do some houses and stuff, you know, they doing a lot of renovation around here. And just for the record, that is the Oakleaf District. I've been down the Bay all my life. Now, as far as the information that he was saying he got to all the community,
Yes, sir.
I never heard it. The only reason I'm here today is I received this notice in the mail. And so I know for a fact a lot of people don't want that there because it's going to diminish the value of the property. Now, if I was building a house on the corner right there, which I plan to do, it would be a huge wall right there from the back of his building
Yes, sir.
and diminish the value of my property. They really can't see no reason to build it now because when he put that there, it's not gonna enhance the neighborhood. That's an all-black neighborhood where you talking. Those four corners there, it's all black. And I own quite a bit of property in that neighborhood. I never heard nobody say that they was in favor of it. Now, and like the gentleman there said, I don't see how it's gonna serve the community because nobody that was around there have any need to use it. They've been living there most all of my life, you know. So that's gonna be a commercial, and then they feel the state in here that they said that this was a neighborhood business district, right in paragraph 2 here, paragraph 1 here. But it's a neighborhood of commercial and residential, mostly residential. So I can't see how this is going to serve it. You know, they say that, you know, the board recommend that it wouldn't be result in no hardship, but just by putting it there is a hardship. And this guy right here, Wills, he lives right next to it. They put a fence up. They building around it, went around it. They done tore up all the oak trees and everything already. I didn't even know they had a. So I called and find out if they had a land disturbance permit. They had that, but other than that, everybody in the neighborhood hadn't heard about this. So I don't think that's true.
Mr. Wills, you say?
Now that commercial thing that they're talking about that we are in, that's mostly on the east side of Broad Street. Just the Broad Street area. All that's residential. And all that's residential to the west side, except that lot right there.
Yes, sir.
So that's the difference. I'm not in favor of it.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Metcalf, hold on.
Would you mind, Mr. Chair, if I tried to clarify for the gentleman?
Mr. Denson, just have a seat right there, man. You
No.
want the applicant?
I'd like to speak to the, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to let you know, this today has nothing to do about what he's going to build. He doesn't have to get anybody's approval. It's not about commercial or residential. The property is properly zoned. Doesn't matter what's there next door to it, it's properly zoned. The building's going to be built. That's already been approved. All this is how close it's going to be to Broad Street, not your property. So we don't, the neighborhood or anyone really doesn't have a say in the building he's going to build or what he's going to use it for because it's properly zoned.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but here today, he asked me, was I in favor of it? I'm not in favor of it.
What?
So I understand the zoning, and I
Okay.
understand that the permits and all.
Right, but you're saying that you're not in favor, are you saying you're not in
I'm
favor?
not in favor of it for this reason here. It's some areas right here. The neighborhood is not in favor of this.
That's not my point. My
Well, I
point is,
understand
there's
your
only
point.
one question here
I
today.
understand your point, and I understand all the ramifications of what you're talking about.
But
I
you're
understand
stating you're not in
perfectly.
favor of the project. Okay.
I understand perfectly well about the ramifications of what you're talking about. I don't need to have that explained. I'm just telling you that these issues in here are exactly true.
Okay.
You understand
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying? Yes. Okay, is that it?
Okay, Mr. Denson.
Chairman,
Yes,
can I
sir.
make a comment?
Hold on, Mr. Denson. You want to talk to Mr. Denson?
Yes, just
Yes,
make a
sir.
comment. I understand you're concerned about the building going adjacent to housing and what have you. But that area is for mixed use, so much that I would be, if I lived in the vicinity of that complex, I guess you could call it that, that's coming up, you have to look at what else you might get there. I would be more concerned that this facility would be better than anything else I could think of on Broad Street.
Okay, I don't know if you paid attention, they renovating around there with residents all the time.
I pass it all the time,
And-
so going up and down Broad Street.
Okay, then, you know that that's not fully commercial, like it says on here. It's mostly residential. And I know the permits have already been
I just want to say
approved
you
and
could
what
get worse than what's going up there.
It
Thank
get worse and worse and going up there? Well, I guess that's why everybody down there trying to acquire it now, all the investors. They came to my house with a map big as that, asked me to help them acquire that property down there. And after I found out what they was, paying for it, I abstained. And they was buying property for 18, 19,000, selling it for 250. 115,000, 149, $150,000 now. So, really, that's not true. I really don't understand how they got that passed anyway, to make that a B2 area. That
Chairman,
one block, that one corner.
let me make one more comment.
Go
What you're arguing now maybe should have been argued a couple of months ago. What he was trying to explain to you
I understand that.
earlier is that this hearing here is not about whether you can put a building up. That was decided.
Well, I just answered that, but
it's
falls
about-
on its face. That falls on its face because actually, I was saying that this is not absolutely true. This is historical neighborhood and a residential neighborhood. And you got one corner there that says it's B2. That's all I'm saying. Is that it?
Anyone else in opposition? Okay. Anything you like to? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Denson. Anything you'd like to say, sir, in response? Okay. Well, the motion, the issues are before us now as a board. What is our pleasure? Is there a motion?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion properly seconded, you've heard it as stated. Are you ready for question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposers by the same?
Opposed?
Motion passed. All right, thank you all very much. I think this ends our business for today. And thank you all very, very much.
All right, Madam.
You know,